Classic SpongeBob was a wide-eyed optimist chasing jellyfish, now he's a hyperactive goof chasing punchlines. Classic Patrick was a simple-minded friend with hidden wisdom, now he's a loud, clueless idiot. Classic Squidward was a bitter artist trapped in mediocrity, now he's a walking punchline stuck in slapstick. Since the show's release, these classic SpongeBob characters have changed, and not for the better. They've been flanderized into shallow caricatures, mere shells of who they once were. In this video, we're going to break down what really happened to every classic SpongeBob character. SpongeBob SquarePants has changed a lot since the early seasons, and if you've been watching from the beginning, the difference is hard to ignore. Classic SpongeBob, especially in seasons 1 to 3, was a genuinely lovable character. He was positive but not annoying, excited but not childish, loyal but not clingy, and hardworking without being obsessive. He cared about his friends and found joy in the little things, which made him relatable and admirable. His humor felt natural, and his emotional intelligence grounded his silly moments, giving the character a lot of heart. But starting around season 4, SpongeBob's character began to shift. His positivity became forced and overbearing, his innocent excitement turned into immature, baby-like behavior, and his loyalty morphed into obsessive clinginess. Even his work ethic was exaggerated to the point of unhealthy perfectionism. What used to be endearing traits were blown out of proportion, turning SpongeBob into a cartoonish version of his former self, losing much of the emotional balance that once made him great. You can clearly see this change when comparing two episodes, Band Geeks from season 2 and SpongeBob's Place from season 10. In Band Geeks, Squidward is challenged to form a band for the Bubble Bowl. Despite Squidward constantly putting him down, SpongeBob stays determined to help. He rallies the group, gives a heartfelt speech when things fall apart, and helps deliver an incredible performance of sweet victory. His positivity here isn't forced. It comes from genuine care for Squidward. His loyalty motivates him to help others, not to control them. His excitement brings people together and creates something meaningful. Fast forward to SpongeBob's Place, and it's a different story. When Mr. Krabs temporarily kicks SpongeBob out of the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob opens his own restaurant, but instead of showing the same joy for cooking, he becomes a control freak. His work ethic turns into obsessive micromanagement. His excitement becomes manic energy, and his positivity is stubborn delusion. Rather than supporting those around him, he pushes them away with his selfish behavior. And instead of handling setbacks with emotional intelligence, he throws tantrums like a child. The contrast between these two episodes highlights what went wrong. Classic SpongeBob's traits helped others and made him lovable. Modern SpongeBob's exaggerated traits alienate those around him and make him exhausting to watch. What was once a positive role model became a shallow caricature, where emotional depth was traded for cheap slapstick. At his best, SpongeBob inspired people with his kindness, determination, and joy. But over time, the writers pushed his personality so far that those qualities became flaws. And in the process, they lost the heart that made the show truly special. While SpongeBob went from caring and smart to childish and loud, Patrick went from clever and thoughtful to just silly and clueless. Patrick Star has always been SpongeBob's best friend, but like SpongeBob himself, he's changed a lot over the years, and not for the better. Classic Patrick was lazy and simple-minded, but also chill, occasionally clever, and genuinely cared about his friendship. He had a calm, fun presence, and could surprise you with smart ideas or sneaky tricks, making him more than just the dumb sidekick. But modern Patrick shows what happens when those traits are exaggerated beyond recognition. His chill attitude became aggressive laziness, his simplicity turned into painful stupidity, his sneaky side became destructive chaos, and his care for SpongeBob turned into selfish neediness. Instead of a lovable goof, Patrick became a loud, clueless wrecking ball who causes problems instead of helping solve them. You can see this clearly by comparing the secret box from season 2 with the Great Patty Caper from season 7. In the secret box, Patrick keeps a mysterious box away from SpongeBob, creating a fun back and forth dynamic. He stays calm, clever, and in control, managing to protect his secret while still messing with SpongeBob in a playful way. Even when SpongeBob betrays his trust by sneaking into his house, Patrick sets a clear boundary, showing that he values their friendship. And in the end, Patrick outsmarts him with a hidden compartment, proving he was a step ahead the whole time. Now compare that to the Great Patty Caper. Patrick joins SpongeBob on a train to recover the stolen Krabby Patty formula, but instead of helping, he spends the whole episode being useless and destructive. He wastes time washing dishes and eating snacks during an investigation, asks ridiculous questions like whether someone is a werewolf, and can't focus on anything important. When the train is out of control, Patrick misreads the controls and breaks the brake and throttle, making the situation situation worse. His actions aren't funny or clever, just frustrating. The contrast is clear. Classic Patrick was lazy but loyal, simple but sometimes smart, and chill but emotionally aware. Modern Patrick is just an idiot who breaks things and makes situations worse for everyone around him. His original traits had charm because they were balanced. He was SpongeBob's equal in a different way. Relaxed where SpongeBob was hyper, sneaky where SpongeBob was innocent, grounded where SpongeBob was excitable, but by pushing those traits too far, the writers turned Patrick into a shallow caricature. His calmness became selfish laziness, his simplicity became painful stupidity, and his loyalty became annoying dependence. What made Patrick special is gone, replaced with random chaos that leaves you wondering why SpongeBob would even want him around. While Patrick went from clever to chaotic and SpongeBob from caring to childish, Squidward's change from relatable to just mean shows how the show lost its heart. Squidward Tentacles has always been the grumpy neighbor of SpongeBob SquarePants, but like every main character, he's been drastically changed over time. In the early seasons, Squidward was sarcastic, frustrated, and bitter, but in ways that felt grounded. He was an underappreciated artist stuck in a dull job, surrounded by loud neighbors, and his misery made sense. He wasn't just mean for the sake of it. He had real emotions, occasional vulnerability, and even rare moments of kindness that made him feel like a real person. Classic Squidward had depth. His sarcasm was sharp and witty, his anger stemmed from real-life frustrations, and his loneliness was subtle but relatable. Episodes like Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost, Season 1, showed how his antics came from exhaustion, not cruelty. When he pretends to be a ghost to get peace and quiet, it's playful mischief, not malice. And when SpongeBob and Patrick take it too far, Squidward panics, and you actually feel for him. He had boundaries, emotional nuance, and a hint of humanity under the grumpiness. But starting around Season 4, that balance began to fade. Modern Squidward is what happens when the writers push his traits too far. His sarcasm became cold cruelty. His bitterness turned into arrogant superiority, and his vulnerability morphed into constant whining. Any kindness or growth he once showed is nearly gone. Instead of a relatable pessimist, he became a flat, mean-spirited caricature. You can see the contrast in Squidward's School for Grown-Ups, Season 8. When Patrick grows a beard and decides he's suddenly mature, Squidward takes it as an opportunity to mold him into a refined adult. But unlike his classic self, he's not just trying to escape noise or find peace, he's driven by ego. He drags Patrick to fancy restaurants and museums, not to help him grow, but to feel superior. When SpongeBob tries to join them, Squidward cruelly has him thrown out of the museum. His actions feel less like frustration and more like unchecked arrogance. Worse, there's no emotional payoff. Squidward learns nothing, grows in no way, and ends the episode getting pelted with food, not as a result of poetic justice, but just because. His role becomes predictable and empty. Be mean, then suffer. Classic Squidward worked because he was layered. We've all felt stuck in jobs, annoyed by others, or overlooked for our talents. That made him relatable, but modern Squidward lacks that depth. His defining traits, sarcasm, bitterness, vulnerability, have been distorted into extremes, turning a nuanced character into a one-note cartoon villain. And with that, the show lost one of its most human characters. While Squidward went from a relatable character to a cartoon, Mr. Krabs went from a caring businessman to just a greedy villain. Before I tell you about Mr. Krabs, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and now let's get back to where we left off. Eugene Krabs has always loved money, but in the early seasons of SpongeBob SquarePants, his character had much more depth. Classic Mr. Krabs was cheap and business-minded, but he also cared about his restaurant, took pride in his work, and looked out for his employees in his own gruff way. His love for profit was balanced by genuine pride in the Krusty Krab and moments of real concern for SpongeBob and Squidward. Modern Mr. Krabs, starting around Season 4, exaggerates all his traits to absurd extremes. His business smarts became pure, unchecked greed. His pride in the Krusty Krab turned into an obsession with profit at all costs. His tough love for his employees warped into outright exploitation. Instead of a hardworking businessman with flaws, he became a one-note villain driven only by money no matter who gets hurt. You can see this shift clearly when comparing Pickles from Season 1 and the Krabby Chronicle from Season 6. In Pickles, SpongeBob loses his confidence when Bubble Bass tricks him into thinking he forgot the pickles. Mr. Krabs is concerned about the business, but he doesn't just fire SpongeBob or yell at him. Instead, he sits down with him for days, patiently helping him regain his confidence. His pride in SpongeBob's recovery feels genuine. He's proud of his employee, not just happy about making money again. Now look at the Krabby Chronicle. Mr. Krabs starts a newspaper to make extra cash, but when honest stories don't sell, he pushes SpongeBob to write harmful lies about the townspeople. Mrs. Puff's driving school gets shut down, Larry loses his gym membership, and Plankton's business is destroyed. Unlike in Pickles, where Mr. Krabs showed compassion, here he doesn't care who gets hurt. He dismisses SpongeBob's concerns, threatens his job, and counts his money while the town suffers. When the angry townspeople confront him, he responds by counterfeiting money rather than learning any lesson. The difference is night and day. Classic Mr. Krabs was cheap but human, his flaws were relatable, and his moments of care made him more than just a greedy boss. Modern Mr. Krabs is driven by greed alone, turning him into a shallow, heartless caricature. What made Mr. Krabs interesting in the early seasons was the balance between his love of money and his pride in the Krusty Krab, as well as his hidden care for his employees. But when those qualities were pushed to the extreme, the character lost all nuance. Now, Mr. Krabs exists only to be greedy and cause chaos, stripping away the relatable flaws that once made him work. While Mr. Krabs became a pure villain, Sandy lost her edge, turning into a more conventional character. Sandy Cheeks might seem consistent on the surface, but over time, her character has changed dramatically. Early Sandy was smart, fiercely independent, adventurous, and confident in ways that felt earned. She wasn't just the science character or the tough girl. She was a self-made pioneer who built an underwater home, fought sea monsters, and mastered karate. Her friendship with SpongeBob felt natural because she was someone who truly lived life to the fullest. But starting around season 4, Sandy's character began to shift. Her fierce independence became watered down into more conventional family values. Her scientific genius was simplified into basic problem solving. Her love of adventure was toned down into cautious responsibility, and her confident, adventurous spirit was replaced with quiet, domestic concern. Rather than standing out, she became a more typical background character. You can clearly see this by comparing Tea at the Tree Dome from season 1 and Sandy's nutty nieces from season 12. In Tea at the Tree Dome, Sandy's introduction instantly shows what makes her special. She's battling a giant clam underwater, wearing a self-made air helmet that lets her live in an environment where she shouldn't survive. When SpongeBob tries to save her, she effortlessly handles the situation herself, showing her superior fighting skills and survival instincts. And when SpongeBob and Patrick are dehydrated in her tree dome, she uses her scientific knowledge and compassion to quickly create water helmets for them. This episode shows Sandy's traits working in perfect harmony. Her independence lets her thrive in a hostile environment, her science smarts help her solve real problems, and her love of adventure makes her fearless in the face of danger. Her confidence isn't just attitude, it's earned through real achievements. Now compare that to Sandy's nutty nieces. Here, Sandy's role is reduced to babysitting her mischievous nieces. Instead of showcasing her brilliance or adventurous spirit, the episode focuses on her juggling family chaos and building a gift for her nieces. While she still solves problems, it's basic household problem solving, not the daring inventions or survival feats she once accomplished. The contrast is striking. Classic Sandy tackled giant clams and engineered underwater habitats. Modern Sandy babysits nieces and manages domestic mishaps. Her once bold confidence has been softened into mild responsibility, and her adventurous spirit has been replaced by caretaking. Sandy was once inspiring because she showed what you could accomplish through skill and courage, but by turning her into a conventional supporting character, the writers stripped away what made her special. Modern Sandy is still smart and positive, but no longer the fearless trailblazer she used to be. Sandy went from an independent genius to a more conventional character, just as Plankton went from a real threat to a comedic figure. Plankton has changed a lot over the years. In the early seasons of SpongeBob SquarePants, he was a genuinely smart and dangerous villain. His schemes to steal the Krabby Patty formula were clever, his rivalry with Mr. Krabs was serious, and his determination made him a real threat. But starting around season 4, Plankton's character shifted. His intelligence became bumbling incompetence, his menace turned into pathetic failure, and his drive for success became emotional neediness. Instead of a dangerous villain, he became a joke. You can see this contrast by comparing Plankton from season 1 with Plankton's pet from season 9. In Plankton, his debut, we meet a serious antagonist who's been after the Krabby Patty formula for years. He's clever from the start, hiding inside a Krabby Patty to sneak into the Krusty Krab, then adapting his plan when it fails. He quickly shifts tactics, manipulating SpongeBob by pretending to be his friend and offering gifts. When that fails, he escalates further, building a mind control device to take over SpongeBob's brain. It's dark, smart, and genuinely threatening. Even when his plan backfires, Plankton stays in character. Angry, relentless, and still obsessed with his goal. Now look at Plankton's pet. The episode opens with Karen suggesting that Plankton should get a pet because his obsession with the Krabby Patty formula is burning him out. Right away, his villainous drive is played off as something pathetic, not dangerous. SpongeBob even helps him adopt a pet, which feels wrong. Why would SpongeBob help his enemy? Because modern Plankton isn't threatening anymore. The entire episode focuses on Plankton training a tiny amoeba to fetch him a Krabby Patty. But instead of pulling off an evil scheme, the amoeba eats the patty, and Plankton's big response is to put his pet in timeout. This is a far cry from the mind-controlling villain we saw earlier. Later, when the pet runs away, Plankton becomes sad and emotional, going on a heartfelt search for his lost pet, with SpongeBob's help. The difference between these episodes is massive. Classic Plankton was funny because his ambition was huge for such a tiny creature, and his schemes were genuinely smart. When he failed, it was a relief because the stakes felt real. Modern Plankton fails because he's a bumbling loser, and the humor comes from how pathetic he's become. His intelligence, threat level, and motivation were all dialed down into weak, predictable cartoon gags. The sad part is that Plankton's original traits, his intellect, menace, and adaptability, made him a truly unique villain. But by exaggerating his flaws and stripping away his strengths, the writers turned him into just another sad, predictable cartoon character. That's the end of our video today. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one.